I'm going to show you how to make tasty black-eyed peas, and these are so easy a caveman can do it. I've already put a tablespoon of oil and 1 large onion and 1 large bell pepper chopped up in here and started cooking them down. With the steam coming up on the camera, I didn't think it would be too good to cook them all the way with the camera on. So this is how they look after they've cooked down. The onion's translucent, the pepper's soft, and now we're ready for the rest of the ingredients. Now when I talk about large onion, I mean an onion about the size of your fist or smaller, maybe a tennis ball. And same thing with the bell pepper. So I'm guessing it's between a 1/2 cup and 3/4 of a cup somewhere. It don't have to be exact. I find it's just as easy to chop it up without measuring it. In fact, most of my recipes I don't measure, but I'm going to try very hard in my cookbook to put measurements in for those who haven't done a lot of cooking and maybe don't know exactly what I mean by large or medium or whatever. Anyway, we got the oil, we got the onion, we got the green pepper. Now, the black-eyed peas. This is canned black-eyed peas. I drained them. But I usually use fresh beans and peas that I've cooked. But you can do it with the can just as well. But remember that they are salty out of the can, so when you go to season, you may want to take that into account. And this is 1 can of chopped tomatoes. And when I add that, I add the juices with it. Just everything out of the can, just tossed in there. Because the juice is important. Because one thing about beans of any kind, they do like to absorb liquid even after they're cooked. Look at all those pretty colors. Now for the seasoning. I know that there's a lot of different ways to season black-eyed peas, but this is my favorite. And this is a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Not a lot of each because the other flavors are going to be the more important ones. So I add 1 teaspoon sugar. I don't know why. A teaspoon of sugar just somehow brings out the flavor. And 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne. I, of course, put in the 1/2 or more if I can get away with it. Oops, we didn't get all the seasoning out of there. And there's a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of the dried oregano. That's the kind with the leafy oregano. I find in this recipe that works the best. But if all you've got is ground up oregano or however you use it, you can just throw that in. This does not have to be an exact recipe, and you'll want to tweak it for your own taste. But anyhow, that's how easy it is. And I always keep a meter can of water on hand, because you may need to add some as it cooks, as those want to cook dry, or if you like it a little more soupy. We kind of like it about like that. So what this will do is we cook this down until everything's really well done and the flavors have all blended in, and then serve it. And it's great as leftovers, and I have frozen this recipe and brought it out of the freezer a couple months later, thawed it out, and it's just as good as fresh. So let me turn the heat off because I'm going to cook this down later, but I wanted to show you how it looked because essentially it's done. But I like to let it stew a long time to really get that blended flavor. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the recipe. I hope you give it a try. And you can try it with other kinds of beans as well. Thank you for stopping by my kitchen.